Welcome to another episode of Metaverse Studio, brought to you by Phygtl, an AR Web3 platform that lets brands create immersive experiences for their users, unlocking a new dimension. And without further ado, here comes our host, Tommaso Di Bartolo.
And good morning, at least here from San Francisco, and welcome to another episode of Metaverse Studio. What is it we do here? Well, we interview Web3 minds and deconstruct value creation in the metaverse, and this so important topic. And I have the great honor and pleasure to have three panelists, three guests today I would like to introduce. I would like to kick off things with hey Sam, hey Paulette, and hey Joe, for whomever is watching the video. Yeah, let me kick off things with Paulette. Paulette Watson is advocating for no one to be left behind in digital fourth revolution. Her focus is women, and in particular, Black and people of color. Paulette Watson is driving this change in the science and tech space in United Kingdom and Ghana. Paulette, such a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we have Alyze Sam, goes with Sam. Sam is a refreshing blockchain strategist, a novel educator, multi-award winning author, and a serial co-founder and vehemently driven advocate. Sam, how are you this morning?
Fantastic. You guys will see me coughing over a chest cold. Otherwise, I'm all smiles like normal. Paulette's laughing at me.
We love your smiles, Sam, and thanks for making it happen. And then we have JoAnn Holmes, attorney at practice in the areas of digital assets law, in brackets, NFTs, metaverse, DAOs, and blockchain tech. I actually would like to pause here because it's a lot that you're practicing in a super new space. So congratulations on that. And intellectual property licenses. She helps innovate, organization, monetize IP, build Web3 revenue, and manage evolving legal risk. Jo, what a great pleasure to have you.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for having me.
By the way, for whomever is watching this video, when you see me actually looking down, is because my brain is not on a blockchain, so I need still to take notes in order not to forget things. But let's kick off things, right? Metaverse Studio, deconstructing the value creation, right? We are in a bear market, and we have seen early adopters adopting some metaverses that are more in the gaming industry. Some early adopters in crypto aficionados are playing some games, some immersive games that are rewarded for their time, right? But more and more, we're starting to understand that that goes beyond that. Other categories, other value creations that we are most probably seeing in the near future in the metaverse. Now, what I would like to kick off things is one question that we get actually pretty oftenly asked is, what kind of design, engaging, immersive design, does a Web3 metaverse or practice need to have in order to create products and services that the end user loves? Jo, what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you again for having me. So when I'm working with clients, I really like to consider a framework that starts out with identity of who is your existing community, who are your existing customers if you're a business, so that you can maintain continuity from what they already know, like, and trust about their experience with you into Web3, be that with NFT offerings or in the metaverse. And then from there, really thinking about how can an offering in blockchain technology, in the metaverse specifically, really provide step change value that makes the experience fun, engaging, rewarding, worth coming back to. And then how do we move from that into an ecosystem of value that causes that community to really think about bringing in their community offline, their friends, their family, and being advocates for the technology. So I think when we're considering metaverse experiences, we need to start from the reality that most of the world is not there yet. And so when we're design with continuity based on the identity and the culture we've already built in a way that is inclusive and brings more people in and finding value in the new space.
Beautiful. I love it. Paulette, what are your thoughts?
Well, just to add to what JoAnn said, yesterday I had the opportunity to speak to about 150 young women about what would it be like in the metaverse. And what I did, I explained to them how they can integrate and what it would include. And what came to mind was that Web3 is at its core and it was about paying creators for their work. Any kind of intellectual property, be it music, art, or fashion, is converted or linked to an NFT. Thus, the work can be certified, tracked, and traced, transacted on a blockchain. And what I explained to them was that being in the metaverse, this technology will enable them as creators to be compensated for their work directly, and it will help to herald this decentralized era where no organization will be in control. And when I explained that to these young women, they were looking at me like, I will have total control within this place. It will be, I can bring my friends in, we can shop, we can communicate, we can engage. And it almost seemed to them like it was a new reality. It was something new for them to get involved. And before, they had no idea. But by the time we finished the session, they were like, we are so interested. So the metaverse for me really is ensuring that, women and girls who are able to be creators and to be able to connect and be part of it.
I love it. I love it. Sam, what are your thoughts?
Well, first, I want to say thank you so much for having me be the minority of women here, because not very often do women of color get as much presence as they deserve. And I'm raising young women of color, and this just makes me feel really good. I know this is weird, but I feel at home, and I really just thank you so much for letting me be the minority for once. It means a lot. And I think that opens the door to what the metaverse is for me. I was a disabled nurse. I was hit by a semi truck, and that's how I got into blockchain. It was by accident. And, I was sat there and I was in a hospital bed for months and months and months and got sick. I reached out to industry leaders because I prayed and I said, God, what is the future that's going to save me from disability and all this? And in 2014, the first NFT was invented in New York, called Quantum. And it was then that nobody understood, because it didn't even have a name back then. It was a non-identifiable object on the blockchain, and it was on the Bitcoin blockchain. And that's where I'm from, the technical side. And, when you open the door from going from cryptocurrencies, which are fungible assets, to opening the door to non-fungibility on the blockchain, gosh dang it, you open the door to unbelievable imagination. And that's exactly, I think, what the world needs. And what does the metaverse need to grow and expand? It needs utility. Don't mint and build stupid crap. Don't kill our planet. Don't do any of that. Take brands and like real estate is the metaverse, education, like Paulette. I have such a woman crush on these girls, because they're doing such great things and preaching education and doing ethical things with this technology. And that's what the metaverse is to me. And that's what we should be developing together.
I love it. Don't build crap, right? So it's about utility, right? Which is, again, a word that we could super unpack, right? Because what is now utility in the metaverse? Where does it start? Where does it end, right? Sam, do you want to double click on things that you have seen, or maybe actually you want to share with us? I know that you're writing another book that has actually an extended utility, which is a different experience type on how you learn. How about we connect the utility word with what you're doing? Do you mind sharing it with our audience?
I appreciate that. I don't shill, but thank you. Now I'm probably blushing. Something that I found very interesting was back in 2016, I wanted to build the first metaverse for books. Like, I wanted to make NFTs into books. Right after CryptoKitties launched and everything was getting real big, I was like, man, this is the future, right? And I never got to do that because I was still broke, and still trying to build on my own. And I reached out, this year, a bunch of book companies reached out. And they were like, hey, you wrote the first stablecoin book, and, you teach at Harvard and all this stuff. And they were like, did you want to do an NFT book? And I was like, what? I've been writing the NFT encyclopedia for 2.5 years. Are you kidding me? I have 80,000 words. Craig Sellers is on it, Eric Poulier, everybody you could imagine. I have all these famous co-authors, and I want to do this. So Eric Poulier, who has the NFT patent from 2015 on NFTs technology with Craig Sellers and Reeve Collins, Eric was like, we can do an interactive AR and VR book. So my encyclopedia with like what Paulette does is, we're just here to educate. We want to give it free. And my 4-year-old broke a 1962 world record. Me and him wrote the ABCs of NFTs. So those will also be digital NFTs and books and in the metaverse that you can go and explore. And that's what people think, that it's all these violent games and stuff, but that's not what the metaverse is. Do you know what me and my kids do? We go to museums all over the world because I have a spinal injury and it's hard to travel, And so that's what this is. This is education and togetherness. It's beautiful.
Jo, most recently, we have been seeing use cases, collaborative use cases that extend beyond the digital world, but we have seen them in realms such as Metaverse that previously to Web3 and blockchain have actually not been possible. So what I mean with specifically is things like the collaboration of 2, 3, 4 brands that are creating actually one digital asset. And this digital asset is not even created by them, but created by the end users that leverages their IP. And because on blockchain, they are even allowed to sell it and everybody equally owns it. It's a very, it is actually a beautiful business case because it's very free. It's very innovative. Paulette mentioned the word, right? It's very creative, right? We no longer are served by ads that we need to watch, but we can leverage brands with our creativity the way we want it and collaborate with them. Now, it has legal implications, right? That right now are still super
I lost audio.
new, right? Can you hear us, Jo? Can you hear us? 3, 2, 1. You lost the audio. Okay, no worries. That's when you do it live. That's what happens, right? In the metaverse, outside the metaverse, no worries. But maybe let's continue this line of reasoning here, Paulette, right? Have you seen some of those cases? And maybe what were the key learnings, right, that you would like to share here with our audience?
So with what we do a lot of onboarding. So it's really educating our women, and with the women especially in Ghana, it's all about financial freedom, and we've explained to them how they could use NFT as a utility. And literally what we've done is explain to them how they can create a game and how they can do like a play to earn. We've also explained to them how they can, I'm having audio problems, hold on. It's echoing, can you guys hear me? Yes, you can? Okay, yeah, so literally, as I said, because of there's a lot of sound, guys, I can't, it's feeding back terribly. I'm so sorry. Can you hear? I've lost that. Oh, God. It's screeching. Oh my days.
No worries. No worries. We do all this live and with a smile on our face. If you don't believe whomever is listening to this, watch please our videos, right? We are not editing this. Jo, you want to jump in while Paulette is solving, right? I want to be sure that you kind of followed the first question while you were having audio issue. Yes. What have you seen? Go ahead, please.
This podcast is powered by Phygtl, with a special guest from Women of the Future. To Metaverse.
So the original question here was, okay, new use cases, new business cases, companies, brands, IP holders collaborating together in this new realm called the metaverse. And because on blockchain and Web3, they make available their brands, they make available their digital IP, right, for end users, right, in a series of decentralized or even centralized worlds, right? We have seen some of those most recently being released, right? So there is this new world of, okay, the end user can do something new, but how do we handle it legally? What does it actually mean for the brands, for the end user, right? I don't know if Joe is back online now. Let's try it. 3, 2, 1. Joe, you still
I'm
there?
here. I can
Okay,
hear you
awesome.
well. Can you hear me
Phenomenal.
now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Beautiful,
great. Thanks
beautiful
for
voice.
everyone's
Please.
patience. So what I was sharing is over my 23 years in practicing global intellectual property law, we've never had a paradigm like what we're experiencing now. Historically, all intellectual property rights were locked up, very centrally owned by typically a corporation, something like Disney, for example. And you might have had certain circumstances where maybe fan art was allowed, but only to a certain extent, and then they might have received a cease and desist letter to shut that down. What's happening now is there's a true recognition of community. And frankly, what's exciting is the talent of that community on a global basis that can bring to bear and create new settings for characters, create new interactions between fans and those who historically have had all the rights and all the control. And what is also exciting is the opportunity to share in equity around that creation. I'll be quite frank, this is going to create a lot of challenges from a legal perspective. And what I would do is really ask all of my fellow attorneys, especially in the intellectual property space, to think about what does it look like to go from an effort to try to shut down and stop those who are creating outside of a historical centralized structure into how do we celebrate that? How do we share in the value so that those communities feel even more invested than they have in the past? And I think that the reward that will come out of that is that the centralized owners of the IP and those who are being invited in to participate will start to find synergies that didn't exist before that are going to make those experiences more enriching for everyone who's enjoying that IP, be it trademarks and new use cases for brands or new types of copyrights or innovation even in patent.
That is so intriguing what you're saying, because on one hand we are actually talking about a new business model, right? You used the word IP was locked, right? More or less top down, right? So okay, I'm the brand creator, right? And that's what I do, and everybody has guidelines. Now we are actually almost inverting that and saying, well, yes, I am the brand owner in terms of the actual IP, but I make it available almost as an open source and make something with it, right? And at the center of all this, you mentioned the word community and also creativity, right? Which leads actually also to a use case in which when we reflect about it, right, we need to empower the end user in order for the end user to sympathize and build empathy and embrace this new mindset of brands. We need to empower them with tools. We need to empower them with tools to do so, right? So because, if we still think of if we have a Web3 environment but still serve them as a Web2, right, it's not really helping anybody, right? Paulette, I see you're knocking. What's your experience there?
Well, it's true. I mean, just to add on again to what JoAnn said, in terms of, for us, like I said, it's the education, it's the onboarding, and what we see with the women and the young girls, they get excited when we explain to them the affordances of the metaverse in terms of understanding how they can get involved with fashion, how they can get involved with gaming, how they can get involved with sports, music, and even if they wanted to go and purchase their land or a community, they can build that community in the metaverse. And for us, when they understand that and they get the vision, like yesterday when we were explaining to the women about products and creating their own avatar, they were saying, I can have my own, I can create my own underwear and I can sell it. And all those affordances, they were like, is this for real? Can this really happen? When we talked about getting them, we told them that about Gucci, how they have their own products, and they were selling like their Gucci glasses, their shoes, their bags. The women were like, and I can really get involved. So for us, it's about mass adoption, making sure that people know what does the metaverse involve, what does it include, how can they get involved, and when they recognize all of these opportunities that are there for them, and that it's whatever's happening in the reality world, in the real world, this can happen in the virtual, but understanding how to navigate through that. So yeah.
How can they get involved? That's the really big question that we need to figure out, right? Because still early days, right? And like in any innovation cycle, early days are known as early adopters, right? Early adopters have certain attributes, right? But what you said,
Right.
Paulette, is actually, okay, how can we build this out for masses, right? Do we want to maybe brainstorm about that, right? So, okay, we are in early adopter phase, and say, well, how do we get actually into this next phase, right? Beyond gamers. Sam, what is your idea? What are your thoughts on how do we get into a more mature, into a phase of in which all of us can actually leverage the metaverse benefits?
You know,
It's for me.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. No, it's you. Sorry, Sam.
I think that Paulette was actually right on track there. I think we're on the bridge of adoption, to be honest with you. And I think she hit that key there when she noted on shopping and Gucci. You know, how can we grow this and how can we get more adoption is, you know, we have to remember, why is the metaverse there? And T, I think you hit that too when you said, you know, we have to build this ethically. And yes, there's a large amount of spiritual technologists around here that are trying to build beautiful things out there. And one way that we can get people to onboard onto this, you know, new world of living is buy products that are NFTs and they are backed on the blockchain. And when you go to sell them, you know what you're getting, you know where it's been, you know whose dirty palms it's been in, and you know it's not been in trouble, you know, and the verification, the transparency there, but then also the data collection so that we're reducing cost in the world too. If Gucci knows that only this sells and this doesn't, they're going to stop producing this and they're going to stop killing our planet again. You know, the metaverse is not great just for video games. It's great for a lot of things. Education, you know, shopping is one of the dumbest things we can do on there, and it's going to be what we do all the time on there. Like, think about Amazon and being able to actually walk through Bloomingdale's. You know, that's a reality. And I'm sorry, after a pandemic, I'm a former mental health nurse. I'm a former mental health patient. Just kidding. I'm a former patient that was in the hospital for a long time. And you know what? Like, the anxiety is real when we go out there. Do you think the world is going to go back to where we were in the 90s when we all went to concerts together? You know, like, it is, but people are going to save money and they're going to go to the metaverse because it's easier, it's safer. And now we've got like all this stuff going on in the world. So the development is there. The education just needs to be there. People don't need to preach that the metaverse is this and it's that and this. They just need to spell it out what it is. It's Web 3.0. There's 1, there's 2, this is 3. And I like what you said too, that people are going to have to start to behave. Like, you know, on Web 2, we think that we're anonymous. You idiots, you guys are not anonymous. I can find you in about an hour. It's not going to take long, you know? And so, and we're training people right now to be good on the internet so that we can communicate and live our life in Web 3 because it's the future. We can't stop it even if we wanted to.
But can I just add, just quickly, this is such a game changer, I'm telling you, because even when you're speaking to young women, and when you're looking at career change or even getting into the tech space, and even understanding the opportunities within this metaverse and what it could do for young women, when they, because you know that a lot of women, especially when I used to teach donkey years ago, a lot of girls used to want to do law. They always wanted to do law or be a doctor. Yeah, those were the two main stuff. But when I explain when I do my sessions, I explain to them that even in the metaverse, you can still use law. I mean, look what JoAnn's saying in terms of how she's leading in that space. She's one of the first. And I think when women identify that and recognize that, it's definitely, we're going to get so much women's going to get involved and say, we want to be a part of this. They want to understand about trademark. They want to get involved with IP, copyright, and they are going to be creators. And then, so being a creator, being the one to create it, understand the algorithm, and being the one to understand the copyright laws, come on, it's a definite game changer. So I'm just getting really excited. Hold me a second. So
I'm excited too, Paulette, and I want to double click. I want to double click on what Paulette said. If you were listening to me right now, my why for being in this space is that I was a baby lawyer in the early 2000s, and I'm a Stanford graduate. And so I was really coming into my adulthood at the time that on my campus, so many of the Web 2 companies were being built. And as a young attorney representing businesses across the globe, I was seeing all of that innovation happening and all of those resources going in terms of the financialization to a very small, finite group of people. I am in this like the other women who are being interviewed right now because I don't believe that talent is discriminate. I think that talent is global, but people need, especially women and girls, need to be invited into this space. They need to be told, if you don't know where to get started, set up a Google alert. If you're in marketing, for marketing in crypto, marketing in Web3, marketing in blockchain tech, and do the same thing. Run searches on LinkedIn and see who has your skill set that is using the keywords of the blockchain technology space. Whatever skill set you have, you can bring it into this space. And the reason why I affirmatively invite women and girls and those who are from marginalized communities to do that is because if you don't see people who look like us on this screen, then you're not going to necessarily feel like you belong here. That representation matters. And when you step into that space, then you are going to make that door a little wider open for someone else to feel comfortable coming into the space. None of this should be intimidating to you. You belong here and you will learn just like all the rest of us have. The intellectual property is not intimidating. Trademarks are just brand names. We all interact with brand names every day. Copyrights are just the way that we protect creative works like art and film and music and software. You have something to bring into this space and contribute. And I hope that the common theme you're feeling from all of us is that we want you here because you belong here. That inclusion will happen by design.
I love that. Joe says, you belong here. Don't be intimidated. Paulette is all about creativity and community building. And Sam says, well, let's have some utility and we definitely need education. Another amazing episode at the Metaverse Studio with Sam, Joe, and Paulette. And I like to always to wrap up things with a question that is more a visionary question. Let me kick off things with Sam. 3, 2, 1. Sam, you're ready. Sam, take me 5 to 10 years down the road. Okay, I know it's a lot of time, and the metaverse we counted times 7, right? How does what needs to happen to be unlocked? What's the bottleneck that you see nowadays, right, in order to get into a global mass adoption of the metaverse?
I mean, just everyday education. They don't need to know, like, you got to download this and go to beep bop boop, like right now we're in like the internet days, but it's like 19, like maybe 88, it's really early on. So when I got on the internet, like I was telling everybody, so like you connect to the modem and then it does a hop and then it connects online and, and that's what we're doing right now. We're just trying to explain what it is, what it does, and what it's all about. But in 3 to 5 years, your marriage certificate's going to be an NFT and then you're going to upload it. You're going to use that access to get onto Web3, your marriage license, your driver's license, your car insurance, what you bought for your car, everything's going to be an NFT and we're going to react through brands in the metaverse. It's going to grow you as a citizen. Like it's going to be your credit score. So be careful with that, guys. I would say look a lot about what China is doing and think about how our technology is advancing very quickly. And then, where it's going to go, you guys, we're not going to be able to interact without it. Just as soon as like 1998. So when I was in grade 8, Newsweek came out. And mind you, I was chatting on IRC and MSN, by the way, and all over the internet in 1998. So I don't know what this is all about. But they said that, the internet will never last. People will always connect together. And this is crap. This online stuff is crap and it's a fad. Well, hello. Y'all are saying that about Web3. Congratulations. Let's see how that works out for you because we're not going to be able to interact without it.
So unblock education. We need more education. Thank you so much, Sam. Paulette, what is your vision in order to get to mass adoption? What needs to happen? beyond
For
education?
me, gender parity and more women in this space. And I also see more problems solving for the climate change. And I see us leading in that. And that's it from me.
Gender parity, more women in
Solving
space, very
problems
solving problems. Love it. And
for the
last but not
climate
least,
change.
Joe, what is your take here?
So unsurprisingly, I agree with Sam and Paulette. What I would say is what we've heard thus far has been very focused on the larger global brands that are doing activations as early movers with this emerging technology. What I would anticipate happening is that small and mid-sized businesses are also going to see the unlock in Web3 because we're organizing in societies around psychographics more so than our physical locations. And so if you have already built up a culture of a brand or a culture and community with your customer base, even as a small local business, those same things that are touch points that cause someone to resonate with your message could have resonance across the world. And so I think that there's going to be a much broader adoption, which will hopefully create easier user interfaces as well, based on businesses finding use cases that make the experience for their customer and community base to feel more engaged and buy more of their products and services.
I love it. And this is it for this episode today. Thank you so much. If you liked what you heard, right, check in next time when it's all about the Metaverse Studio and deconstructing value creation. And as always, I'll meet you in the Metaverse. Ciao.
Thank you so much for watching our podcast. Stay tuned on our social media network and see you in the Metaverse.